Buongiorno studenti! Today I'm going to address a topic that confuses a lot of students, which is how do you actually say what in a question in Italian? We have che cosa, cosa, che, and all these options can be very confusing because you're never sure of which one to pick for your question. So we're going to see how to use them correctly, and I'm going to share with you a couple of tricks that will really help you know what you're doing and feeling certain when you're picking them. So let's learn what the difference is between che cosa, cosa, and che. Iniziamo. Let's begin. Now, the first thing that you need to focus is that it is true they can be used mostly interchangeably. And there's not a special preference between them when you can use them interchangeably. But you cannot always use them interchangeably. There is one rule, and you need to know that rule because that definitely influences which one you can pick. That depends on the very next word after what. So when you're asking your question, you need to look at the very next word what you say immediately after what. Let me show you this in English first, and then I'm going to translate this to Italian, and I'm going to give you a lot of examples, but I need you to first focus this. When you ask a question, even in English, a what question even in English, you can have two scenarios. The first scenario is that the what is followed by a verb. The second scenario is that the what is followed by a noun. Let me show you what I mean. Let's suppose we want to ask, what are you eating? In this question, what are you eating? The what is immediately followed by are, and are is a verb. This is an option when you ask a what question. But another option, even in English and in Italian this is the same, is that you may be more specific. What do I mean with that? When you're more specific, you usually add a noun after what. For example, you can ask what are you eating, and you have a verb after what, but you can ask what food are you eating? Or what cake are you eating? Or what dish are you eating? Can you see I'm getting more specific? And I get more specific by adding a noun right after what. So for example, what food are you eating? Can you see the difference? In the first instance, what is followed by a verb, are. Sorry, non are, that's Italian spelling. I meant are. In the second option, what is followed by a noun, food. Va bene? Let's see how this influences your choice of che cosa, cosa, and che. Here's the trick. When you have a verb after what, you can use any of the three. You can use che cosa, cosa, and che. They all work. But when you have a noun after the what, then you can only use che. That's the trick. There you have it. Now we're going to practice that with examples, but this is the thing that I want you to focus. If what is followed by a verb, you can pick whichever you prefer. They are used interchangeably, and we pick them without any rule. We just pick the one that we like in the context, we as native Italian speakers. If the what is followed by a noun, you cannot choose. You must use che. Che is the only one that works in the second option when you are using a noun. So let's see these with real examples, real phrases examples. Let's suppose we want to say, what are you eating? So let's go down here. We have what are you eating? Okay. So in this case, what is followed by a verb, and we said we can use whichever we prefer. So we're going to practice all of them. What are the different ways we can say these? We can ask these in Italian. How would you say that? Think about that in a moment. One option is che cosa mangi? I know that you are eating would be stai mangiando, but most of the times we just use present tense for this kind of sentence. So we say, what do you eat? So, che cosa mangi? I can use che cosa because the next word is a verb. Mangiare, mangi, you eat. Va bene? Can I say these in a different ways? Of course I can. I can use cosa. Cosa mangi? Cosa mangi? This is still perfectly correct because I'm using cosa plus a verb. Can I use just che for this? Certo, of course, because I can use all of them with a verb. So, che mangi? Che mangi? This is also correct. So as you can see, whenever you want to ask a question with what that's followed by a verb, you can pick any of them. They are all correct. So what are you eating in Italian can be said, can be translated in totally equivalent way in any of these three. Che cosa mangi? Cosa mangi? Che mangi? They are all correct. When instead we get more specific, so we ask, for example, what food are you eating? We said that when you get more specific, you add a noun, and food is a noun. So what food, the noun is what comes after what, immediately after what. In this instance, you can only use che. So if you said che cosa cibo mangi, that would be wrong. If you said cosa cibo mangi, that would be wrong. The only correct way of asking this question is che cibo mangi? What food do you eat? Che cibo mangi? Because that's the rule. If what is followed by a noun, you can only use che. There you have it. Now, let's see a few more examples so we can kind of hammer these in our brains. Allora, let's suppose we want to say, what are you reading? So think, what are you reading? What comes immediately right after what? A verb. So how can we say this? We can say this in three different ways. Che cosa leggi? Che cosa leggi? Che leggi? Che leggi? Cosa leggi? They are all correct because che is followed by or che cosa or cosa is followed by a verb. If you want to get more specific, we need to add a noun. So for example, we may ask, what book are you reading? What are we going to use in this case? Only che. So that would become che libro leggi? Che libro leggi? See? If I get more specific and I add a noun, I must stick with che. The other two ones wouldn't work. They wouldn't be correct. Ok, qualche altro esempio. A few more examples. Vediamo. Let's see what we can say. For example, per esempio, we could say, what did you see? What did you watch yesterday? Like on the TV, for example, or on Netflix. What did you watch yesterday? What did you watch? Did is a verb. So we can use any of the three. Let's practice all of them. Che hai guardato ieri? Che hai guardato ieri? Cosa hai guardato ieri? Corretto. Che cosa hai guardato ieri? Tutte corrette. All of them are correct. But what if we want to get more specific and we want to ask, what movie did you watch yesterday? We need to switch to che. So that would be, let's take a little bit more space here. Vediamo un po', ok. Che film hai guardato ieri? That's the correct way of asking. What movie did you watch yesterday? Because movie is a noun. Va bene? Now guys, I know for many students it's very confusing when someone in Italian talks about noun, verb, etc. because it may be that you don't have those clear in your mind. These are terminologies that we use in school, and you know, in Italy we use these much more than in other languages, like for example in English. So if you need to refresh what a noun is, what a verb is, what an adjective is, and what's the role that they play in the Italian grammar, I highly recommend that you have a look at some of my other videos that I have dedicated to this topic, and I'm going to link them in the description below as always. So if you are a little bit confused about that, please have a look at those videos because I explain these extensively there. Okay, let's see one more example, and then I'm going to give you my last trick that's going to help you make this stick and make this simple for when you actually speak, because you don't want to have to think about all these rules when you're talking. So I want to give you the rules, and I want you to understand what's going on, because this way you understand why native Italian speakers use che cosa, and che interchangeably, and when they can do that actually. So now you have the key to understand what's going on. But I also want to share with you one very quick trick that I share with my students to make things easier when you speak Italian. So let's see one last final example. We said when what is followed by a verb, we can use either of the three. When what is followed by a noun, we can only use che. So let's suppose we want to say, what do you prefer? In this case, we have right after what a verb. So we can use all of them. Let's see all of them. Che preferisci? What do you prefer? Cosa preferisci? What do you prefer? Che cosa preferisci? What do you prefer? You can use either of the three. But if you want to get more specific, you could ask, what dish do you prefer? What book do you prefer? What movie do you prefer? What flower do you prefer? In that case, you are inserting a noun right after che. Therefore, you will have to stick to che. So let's say, suppose you want to say, what dish do you prefer? Che piatto preferisci? That's the difference. Here I have the noun piatto, here I have no nouns, and that's your first trick. The first trick is look at what comes immediately after what. The second trick, always stick to che. As you can see from these examples, che is the only one that always works. So che works with a verb, che works with a noun. Cosa and che cosa only work with a verb. So we can say che piatto preferisci, but we can also say che preferisci. We can say che film hai guardato ieri, but we can also say che hai guardato ieri. We can say che libro leggi, but we can also ask che leggi. See? We can ask che cibo mangi, but we can also ask che mangi. So my point here is, don't try to remember all of these rules when you're speaking, otherwise they're going to confuse you. The reason why I shared this with you is to make you understand why we do this, because this is important. But when you're speaking, pick one and stick with that. That's my practical advice that I give to all of the students. So whenever you want to ask a what question, always use che, and you will always be right. That's all for today, guys. I hope this clarifies this topic that can be confusing because there are too many options, and I hope I helped you understand why we have that and how to simplify this for your Italian practice. If you like this video, remember to give it a thumbs up, and also if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe to my channel, click on that bell to receive all the notifications. You need to select all to receive the notifications for all of my videos. And if you want, share a comment with what you learned today and what you didn't know in the space below this video. Have a great day, buona giornata e a presto. See you soon. Ciao da Valentina.